Now, in instances where government does not fulfill its core mandate of improving the lives of its citizens, it becomes very difficult when government wants to implement certain policies that go against the fundamental sustenance of these individuals.
Margaret Thatcher once said that it's either we stand on principles or we do not stand at all.
But we seem both, when we conferred, to be confused about whether you were actually speaking against the motion or for the motion.
Welcome to today's edition of the Yaz Intellectuals, the first ever debate reality show. This is the Knockout edition happening live at KNUST in Kumasi, affectionately known as Osekrum. We will be hitting the intellectual stage very soon, where losers are winners and winners are conquerors with a better chance at finishing the race. The next generation of debaters have arrived. Our moderators are ready to give us their invaluable assertion to the motion at hand, and their judgment still remains uncompromising. This is the Yaz Intellectuals, grooming great debaters.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to the Yaz Intellectual Debate Show, the first debate of this kind here in the country. It is a reality debate competition, and we are so much privileged to have all of you around here to grace the occasion.
All right, I am Nanaba Amwa, and I'm co-hosting with
Edugenfi.
Okay, so this is the Knockout edition, and it's taking place right here, KNUST. And this is the land where Okonkwo-Anochie actually chanted the golden stool into existence.
Alright, so on this note, we take a very short break here. We'll be back to introduce the host once again and our moderator. Boomerang.
21st century design. Made with durable materials. Bristles crafted to reach in between your teeth. Flexible. Allows easy control. Introducing Yaz range of toothbrushes. Made for every pocket. For bulk purchases, call 0302 235294. Yaz toothbrushes. Clean teeth. Confident smile.
Welcome back, viewers from that break. All right, so today we have with us two fantastic halls who are going to represent their schools. And Pavna, what is the motion on which they are debating on?
Okay, so before we talk about the motion, let's introduce the halls that will be taking part in the competition. First of all, we have Queen Elizabeth II Hall from the Nkrumah University.
I want to tell you about Queen Elizabeth II Hall as Queen. So
actually, the Duke of Edinburgh, His Royal Highness Prince Philip, came to Ghana not because he wanted to see or search for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, but he came here just to cut the sword for Queen's Hall to begin as a residential facility.
But we are very, very disciplined on this campus, and everybody can state the fact.
For the first time in the history of Ghana, when a university was able to make it to the semi-finals of the Pan-African University Debate Championship, the student that represented King University for Ghana was from Queen Elizabeth II Hall.
Charlie,
Royals.
strike for the best. Strike for the best. Strike for the best. And this thing should do. I mean, I just see the best one.
Sure, Tanya.
Hallway Queen Elizabeth travel camp. Say it camp with
we are peaceful. We have intellectuals here.
We get fine babes. We get fine boy.
Brother. Wait, he come the book and me like this. I top my class.
Me, I do law. But besides today, my average camp is okay. It's the best on campus, frankly speaking.
So Queen's Hall, we rule everywhere.
And at the end, the trophy is coming back to this hall.
And again, they are coming up against Mensah Sarbah from the University of Ghana.
we are the reigning champions of debate.
Legal matters, no hall can be compared to Sarbah Hall.
And we have a whole lot of such astute intellectuals who coming into this competition are going to definitely express the very depth of brilliance.
Mensah Sarbah Hall champions most of all competitions.
We dabble in everything. We have prowess in entertainment, we have prowess in sports.
The talents that have been nurtured over the years.
Sarbah intellectuals.
You are championing it.
We are in to win this competition.
We're not coming to bite.
We are coming there to win. We have Coco, we have JC, we have all the fraternities. So we are the Vikings.
Sarbah is coming for the competition and we are coming with more fire. As Coco mates will say. Coco mates, fire! Unity! Solidarity! Unity! Solidarity! Hey! Hey! Hey!
For the motion, pavements and walkways have become mini markets for vendors. Driving them away without creating a market space for them is an exercise in futility, and that is the motion.
That's another interesting motion.
And of course, Queen Elizabeth II Hall will be speaking for the motion, and Mensah Sarbah Hall will be speaking against the motion.
Okay, so before the debate commences, we would like to acknowledge our moderators in the auditorium. Professor Goski Alabi.
We expect a very exciting competition. I in particular anticipate that it is very likely that the traditional halls like the Commonwealth Hall, the Katangas, the Marinas, the Custodians are going to come in very strongly with their support base, with their kind of culture and traditions to intimidate the young halls. But I expect that the young halls are going to put up a very, very strong competition. They must hold themselves together. They must surprise us because they should come in their numbers to surprise the traditional halls. We believe this is going to be a very, very exciting reality show that will generate a lot of interest. In terms of leadership, we'll be looking out of coordination and synergy and the teamwork, the flow between them, the ability to identify each other's strengths and make very good use of those strengths.
Dr. Oseni Adam.
This is a very good venture, and it is going to unearth so many qualities of the students we have at the university level. These topics given are not given anyhow. They were carefully carved out, carefully selected, carefully really monitored, and carefully considered in terms of how beneficial it would be to the nation. And we know that at the end, something good will come to help the development of the nation. Expression of thoughts, use of language, and how to bring peace. Because no nation without peace can ever develop.
Okay, and this show is brought to you by Yas, producers of Pooch Conflict and Pooch Frosted Conflict. We are also supported by Capital O2. Now, a little advice to our debaters. When the bell is rung once, it means you have done a minute of your assertion. When it is rung twice, it means you have 2 minutes more to finish with your presentation. And when the bell is rung continuously, it means that the time for your presentation is up. Let us kindly desist from even more presentations after the bell is rung.
So on this note, we thank very much Queen Elizabeth II Hall and Mensah Sarbah Hall. Shall we give them a round of applause as they get ready to set up the motion? So speaking for the motion, we welcome Queen Elizabeth II Hall.
Hello, timekeeper, ladies and gentlemen. Pavements and walkways have become mini markets for most vendors. Driving them away without provision for a better market space is an exercise in futility. My name is Esina Michao Saibunsu, speaking for the motion, right? So what we do first is give a bit of contextualization on what the debate is going to be about. We analyze the nature of street vending. Then we prove to you why driving street vendors off the street without providing them a better market space is an exercise in futility by the government, right? So an exercise in futility in today's debate is simply means something that is incapable of producing any useful results. In other words, something that is pointless or useless, right? So this debate is not about whether street vendors are a menace to society and whether government should drive them off the streets. I think from the motion, it's pretty implied that this is about the way forward. Do we drive them off the streets by providing them a better market space, or we just drive them off the streets without any provision for any better market space, right? So those are the comparisons on which the debate will run today, right? And I think the underlying assumption in the debate is that this happens in a space where no alternatives exist. So it means governments drive people off the street without providing them a better market space as an alternative for their economic sustenance. And then even if these alternatives exist, it means these alternatives are not better for the current situation these people find themselves in, right? So now let's look at the nature of street vending. Street vending is an ancient and important occupation virtually found in every country and major city, right? They are associated with issues like congestion, health and safety risks, tax evasion, and the sale of shoddy merchandise, right? Ghana especially has a long history of legislations, both local and municipal regulations that are targeted at getting rid of street vendors. Example is the AMA bylaw in 1995 that strictly said street vending is unlawful and is strictly prohibited by the laws of the country. And then in 2005, there was a decongestion exercise, and over the years, there have been several special task forces that have been set up to get rid of these street vendors. Now, the most important question in this debate is, why is it that after all these years of these legislations, over decades, about 5 decades since the existence of these countries, street vending is still a menace in this country, right? And even after street vendors themselves especially know that their job poses a very great hazard to them, because then they are more likely to be the victims of road traffic accidents. Despite all these occupational hazards, the most important question, why is it that this exercise by government has proved futile all these years? We tell you it's because government tries to get these people off the streets without providing them an alternative market space for them to survive, right? So first argument as to why this is an exercise in futility, right? Now, the first thing we tell you is governments can never implement a policy without first fulfilling its mandate to their people, right? A core mandate of every government is to promote the welfare of its citizens. This cuts across all sectors like health, education, and economics. And especially in a welfare state like Ghana, governments are largely responsible for these improving the welfare of their citizens, right? Now, in instances where government does not fulfill its core mandate of improving the lives of its citizens, it becomes very difficult when government wants to implement certain policies that go against the fundamental sustenance of these individuals. For example, in a country where government has systematically failed to provide educational institutions, and private institutions are set up to cater for the educational needs of the country, you realize that government in such a country can never impose any law or policy saying that they are closing down these private schools, because then the alternatives do not exist for these people. So if government is to essentially close down these schools in such a setting, it means that people would have no alternative of being educated. Now let us relate it to this debate, right? Economic prosperity of citizens is a core mandate of government. Government is supposed to make policies that make it easier for businesses to thrive, and government is supposed to, as much as possible, provide infrastructure for small-scale businesses to also thrive. Now, in the instance where especially these street vendors have been identified as a problem in these countries, and government wants to get them off the streets, what's the best way of getting them off the streets? First, ensure that you are providing them with a better market space as an alternative, which is first and foremost the core mandate of these people. If government does not fulfill its mandate, human beings will always find a way of sustaining themselves. And however they choose to do it, governments cannot enforce any laws that says they shouldn't do it that way. So governments can never, or the exercise of driving away street vendors will always prove futile in this country because government is not fulfilling its mandate by providing them the necessary infrastructure, right? Now, the second thing we argue is the lack of political will in this country, especially, right? Because usually governments want to pander to party politics, and no government wants to be the bad guy who sacks people off the streets because then they want to get re-elected. So an example is the issue of Galamsey, right? Over the years, consistently, every government identifies that Galamsey is an issue and they should get rid of it. But then the lack of political will to be able to see it through and drive these Galamsey operators is usually not there because they are scared of the backlash that will exist if government is seen to implement such a cruel policy of sacking its own people from something that sustains their livelihood. So what is the antidote to this lack of political will? We tell you the antidote is providing them better alternatives, because then if government is saying that I'm taking these street vendors off the street, it's not a cruel policy because then I'm giving them a better alternative, then government has all the justification and the high ground to go through with this, right? So we realize that in the current government with the issue of Galamsey, there's been a large collaboration from all sectors, both bipartisan and in getting rid of Galamsey, because the difference with this government's implementation is that they are providing these Galamsey operators another alternative. They are telling them that form an alliance of small-scale miners and then let us get you a license and operate within the scope of government, right? So government then has the high ground and the political will to be able to push through getting rid of menaces in society like street vending. So the same thing applies to street vending. If you really want to get rid of them and you don't want that exercise to be a futile exercise, give them a better alternative and gather as much momentum and support and political will as possible to be able to follow through with that exercise, right? Third argument is about choice architecture and how if government does not influence people's decisions, it becomes very difficult for them to want to get things done like this, right? So the whole idea of choice architecture is that individuals are rational, and when provided with multiple options, individuals will always make the best decisions for themselves based on the facts and logic, right? Now, how does this apply to today's debate? That means that on the average, looking at how tedious street vending is and looking at the occupational hazard that come with it, how these people are at a much higher risk of being knocked down by Okada vehicles, cars, reckless drivers, and what have you. It means that these individuals might prefer a better alternative to their current situation because their current situation is not the best. But then, because of economic sustenance and the fact that these people have to survive and they do not have any other option, they will want to remain on the street. So now, if government wants to implement a policy that says get these people off the streets, government should be able to attract these people with a more viable alternative that makes them more willing to even go there without the use of force, right?
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A round of applause. We now call on the principal speaker against the motion.
Panel of judges, ladies and gentlemen, clearly our opponents misconstrued the tenets of this debate. The motion says, and I read, pavements and walkways have become mini markets for most vendors. Driving them away without provision for a better market space is an exercise in futility. My team and I from the Mensah Sarbah are clearly against this motion in particular, right? But before we even delve into the motion to understand what it means and the arguments that we bring to our people, we'll take the wording of the motion and why I said they misconstrued the debate. But let's take them at their rebuttals and the arguments that they bring into the context. First of all, they tell us that this has prevailed because government did not provide markets in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, this is insulting to the intelligence of every Ghanaian within this room, ladies and gentlemen, because we all know that within this country, within almost every district, there is a market, ladies and gentlemen. There is a place which is illegally ordained to be a trading place for such activities, right, ladies and gentlemen? So the fact that such individuals have ignored such an activity shows an illegality in itself. I will engage further. But first also, they tell us that government has a duty to provide for the welfare of citizens. This is very confusing, ladies and gentlemen, because they tell us two things. They tell us that first, they admit the dangers on these streets, that there's possibility of these people having accidents, etc. But because these people are going to make lots of funds, and because this thing has been in Ghana's history since ancient Ghanaian times, let's let them be there. So in other words, ladies and gentlemen, these people are prioritizing economy over the lives of these people on the streets, something which any sane government should not do in the first place, and for that, they are out of this debate. lack of necessary infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, in a world, as I explained to you, why within every district in Ghana here, without reference to any document whatsoever, because this is a fact even a common child in Ghana knows, ladies and gentlemen, it is important that if there is such a place dedicated for trade, then these individuals get there, and lack of it, they have intentionally neglected it. This is not a matter of choice, because, and even if it is a matter of choice, ladies and gentlemen, we thought that these markets are within the confines of such areas. The individuals chose, and this is a very important reason, they chose based on their own reasons to stand out of such matters, and such it doesn't play. Go on to the wording I was talking about. In emotion, ladies and gentlemen, there are key words that we need to understand before we get to the elements of this, right? So we say driving them away, it connotes two things. One, that the action is sacking them is being undertaken by government. Two, that these mini markets on pavements or walkways are illegal and unprescribed by the state, and that's why it even requires the action of taking them off within the first place, right? Also, when we talk about better here, or without provision for a better marketplace, exercise and futility, better here implies recommended, legal, prescribed by the state. Futility here means being any relevant as they engage. Now on to our constructive set of arguments and why we win it clearly, even from the start, from Mensah Sarbah, all right. So, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, we thought that government is not obliged under any circumstance, based on principles of common logic, morality, and everything, to give alternatives to illegality, ladies and gentlemen. So, vending on pavements and walkways, as we've all established, and we all agree on both sides of the houses, is illegal, ladies and gentlemen. So, for instance, when an armed robber is arrested, right, government is not obliged to teach the person sewing or another trade before you punish the person, because it's an illegality in the first place, ladies and gentlemen. It's fine if government takes certain initiatives to also encourage people to get more jobs, to get away from galamsey, etc. But it doesn't make the act of galamsey itself a legal affair. Government is not forced by hand to necessarily give people certain jobs alternatives before the thing becomes a less bad thing or so. So as ladies and gentlemen, it's only wise and it's only prudent if government goes straight away to take these people off, right? It's not infutility. We'll explain this further. Also, there's been several instances, ladies and gentlemen, where even or as they fail to admit, like the case of Kanishi, for instance, ladies and gentlemen, since 1997, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, through its task force and others, have tried to drive most of these street vendors away from there, but they end up coming there in the first place. So, ladies and gentlemen, two things, and we'll analyze for yourself which of them is futile. Taking them away and just building an alternative, would they have a choice whether to go to or not? Or taking them away, ladies and gentlemen, and making sure that they do not return again to the place. That's exactly the argument that we bring to you from Mensah Sarbah, that taking them away from these places without giving them alternatives is far better, ladies and gentlemen, than taking them away and being weak on your structures, ladies and gentlemen, because that is the reason why it brings these people back in the first place. Monitoring and other things on these grounds are very low. So people are not coming back because they do not have any alternative whatever. These people are motivated by greed, so-called high profitability, the fact that their customers are in the exact area and their customers may not be able to identify them within the set of markets, etc. These people come because the window is open for them. That government sacking them in the first place was futile because government did not put in place measures to make sure that they cannot come back again, ladies and gentlemen. And that's exactly what you're talking about. If bribery is allowed to fester, if no task force is there to monitor the grounds once they've been sacked, then once they're coming again, we will sack them. That thing will keep on happening, and that's the future of it. Not giving them as I mentioned to you, driving them away without provision of new authorized markets is not the problem. It's actually relevant. Listen, they accepted from the very beginning of this debate that we are saving lives here, ladies and gentlemen. Congestion is a major issue in Africa. The accidents and lots of street, mind you, we all know that lots of street children are involved in street trade, etc. Lots of lives are lost daily on our street, unaccounted for, because they are not people that are necessarily prominent whatsoever. Even when, ladies and gentlemen, we are losing our economy and we are going to become a very poor country, we thought that the lives of human beings trashes the economy any day. So whatever this informal sector brings to our revenue as a state, we are much more better if we respect the dignity of the lives of these citizens on the streets, right? Also, we tell you that driving them away without proper monitoring mechanism to ensure that the place remains so is one of the activities. And for this demo, we are proud to oppose it. Thank you.
I've got yes comfort, I've got yes confidence, I've got yes freshness, we've got yes protection.
Ultra thin wide wings and leak guards. Yaz sanitary pads give you maximum comfort, hygiene and protection in a resealable pack.
We've got Yaz protection.
Yaz sanitary pads. Maximum protection, maximum confidence.
Don't worry, we've got Yaz protection.
Judges, timekeeper, ladies and gentlemen. What this debate seeks to address is the futility of driving people away from their marketplaces when there exist no plausible alternatives. What Sarbah argues in his speech is why it is necessary to drive them away. The concession we make from this side of the house is that the driving away is something that has been happening over the years, as this now tells you in his speech, how the AMA continuously drives people away. But what she tells you is this, that there exists no political will to sack them because they'll always come back. Why? Because there exists no plausible alternatives. Two things that Sarbah tells you in his speech. One, the availability of markets. The kind of engagement we get from my side of the house is this. It is true, there could be true that markets are available, but there are a numerous number of problems that exist. One, many of them are congested. Two, the fares for hiring these market stores are too high. And number three, these market stores are too small for these people. The question is this, is there an alternative where there can be better markets for them? We say yes, I'll put that to you in my analysis. The next thing he tells you about is the value of life. I'd engage that when I tell you about the doctrine, double effect. But first argument I bring to you as supporting speaker. One, an inaccessible market is no market at all. What I say is this, that the market is not just a place where you sell, It has to be a place where you sell and people can buy them. So when you go and put somebody in a secluded area where when he or she can market their wares, put them out there but nobody comes to buy them, you're not having a marketplace, you just have a selling place. What then happens to the people? You do not get any money to put in your pocket, you do not have a subsistence for yourself. What we say from my side of the house is this, if you put people in a secluded place where there is no avenue for people to come and buy their wares, what they'll do is, because they are rational, they'll come back to the streets because they know that once somebody is sitting in a trotro passing by, you see my wares and buy them. That is rationality of human beings that Islam tells you in his speech. The next thing that I want to tell you about is how futile it is, and to prove more on the level of futility. We say the futility is this, and this is how double effect comes into this debate. Whenever you propose a solution to a problem, and the kind of problems that solution brings far outweighs the problems that you exist when you propose that solution, it is morally wrong and morally bankrupt. This is why. Because when you sack people from the marketplace without giving them plausible alternatives, they will not go to the market because one, the stores are too small. Two, because the costs are too high, they cannot buy them. They cannot buy these stores or rent these stores. But secondly, you push them into social vices like stealing, prostitution, and the likes. In conservative African societies like Ghana, this is morally wrong, it's morally reprehensible, it is something that we cannot buy from this side of the house. But the next thing that Islam talks to you about is choice architecture, and this is how civil disobedience plays. The concession we make is this, that it is true that these things are illegal. Islam tells you about an AMA Act that was supposed to combat this, but this is not working. Why? Because of civil disobedience. We say, in a situation where people are constrained by the pursuit of prosperity, shackled by government's inability to provide better opportunities for them, forced to find a subsistence for themselves in a society, have nobody but yourself, is it morally justified to break the law to make a subsistence? Because obviously, when you decide not to break the law, what you do is that you engage in subsistence, like the subsistence of engaging in prostitution and the likes. But when you don't break the law, the best thing, or like the best case scenario, is that you get some money for yourself. Which one is better? Getting money for yourself where you do not provide a direct harm to a third party, stealing, going out there and engaging in armed robbery, going out there and engaging in prostitution. We say that the latter is morally bankrupt. The former is what we provide from side government, and we are proud to continue. But all in all, what have we said from my side of the house? 6 arguments in totality. 1, where states have decided not to provide welfare systems that are adequate for people, then it is morally right for people to make a subsistence for themselves. The second thing is how there exists no political will for government to be able to sack them because they want to pander to electorate and make sure that they get re-elected in the next election. The third thing is choice architecture, where states are supposed to provide accessible markets for people. Because if you provide accessible markets where people can readily come and buy from them, everybody, because they are rational, will find a place in these stores. The fourth thing that we bring to you is about how an inaccessible market is no market at all. Where you don't have a place where people can adequately purchase goods and when people can make money, what you do is you downplay your economy, you have low per capita income, you have low GDP, the vicious cycle of poverty continues. The fifth argument that we bring to you is the doctrine of double effect, where I tell you that once the solution poses more harm than the problem it intends to solve, which these guys say is the protection of life, it is better on our side, because then what you do is you do not cause a third party any form of direct harm. And lastly, the argument of how this is an act of civil disobedience, where people can say that no, we are not going to obey this law because we need to find a subsistence for ourselves. When this goes on, what it pushes the government to do is it pushes the government to put in more stringent measures to make sure that they provide accessible markets for each and every person to be able
the chair, the house, co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen. So what the side of the house is trying to prove to us is that even if something is bad, we should encourage it. And that is what we are against from this side of the house. So we tell you that their arguments or the points that they are trying to bring to the house is going to cause more harm than good, and then will not even solve the issue that they are trying to solve in the first place. So we are speaking about futility, and the major reason why we are all seated here to argue this debate is to find the best solution to ensure that these street vendors are not seen loitering around again, and the problem is solved and everyone is able to sell and buy at a convenient space. So we tell you that with the kind of arguments or points that these people are trying to bring to convince would actually give these street vendors the right to own mini markets by pavements and walkways, and we will prove to you why we are saying so. So the first and second speaker came to speak about providing them with no alternative is an exercise in futility, hence we should give them better alternatives. Now we tell you that giving these people better alternatives is a way to give them these people right to own mini markets by pavements and walkways. We tell you that this serves as injustice to others that are abiding by the laws of the land. So we have a market where there are a lot of people that have gone there to purchase some of the stores and are working, paying taxes to the government and ensuring that people would come there and buy, only for you to have other people that, because of their own selfish gains, would go out of these marketplaces to go and sell some of the products that they have. Now we tell you that providing these people with alternatives mean that we will keep providing alternatives as and when there's more demand and supply at any given area. Now I'll give you an example. So let's say if in street A, a lot of people are purchasing tomato and pepper by the roadside, it means that government should come there and put up a structure or a marketplace so that people can come and buy pepper and tomatoes, when in actual sense it is a wrong act. That is why we have markets, and it is so insulting to a country that is trying to plan its country well and ensure that demarcation is well ensured. So we have markets, we have hospitals, we have streets, we have pavements, and each and every one of these things serve a particular purpose. Hence, we won't have them say that, oh, these street vendors should be given alternatives because there is congestion and that there are no, there's a people pay a lot of money before they get stores. So the issue here is not about giving these people alternatives, but ensuring that we put up measures that would not bring these people back to the streets and get people who buy and sell meat at a particular place that we prefer the market space. What we are trying to say, if we agree with what this side of the house is trying to bring, it's going to be a burden on the government, because governments will have to keep satisfying these people because they are their citizens and not go by the right ways and measures to ensure that these people do not come back. So we need to expand the market space. We need to put up structures and ensure that security is at these vantage points where these people are not going to come back. The health and security of these street vendors is very important, and not to talk about how much money they are going to make at the end of the day just because a lot of buyers are at a particular point, so they should come there and sell some of their products. So we also tell you that it increases the expense of government because market spaces would be rendered useless, since we would have to be going from place to place and citing or putting up structures that would favor most street vendors. And we also tell you that there is a right for all pedestrians to be able to use pavements and walkways without any form of obstruction. So at a point where someone is selling bread and egg, sitting somewhere that you are supposed to pass and preventing you from an easy access to wherever you are going, we feel that it is bad. Hence, these people should be moved to their appropriate places such as the marketplaces, and ensure that there is enough security to prevent these people from coming back to these pavements and walkways, because that is the only way we can ensure that these people are not coming back to the streets. From what this side of the house is trying to say, if we are going to keep building structures for a lot of people, we will never stop, because demand and supply is what these people go by. Then we also tell you that it is very beneficial to government if we decide to go by the rights.
Thank you very much. Second supporting speaker from the opposition team. All right. Before our second supporting speaker for the proposition team comes, would like to acknowledge our sponsors. And this show is kindly brought to you by Yas Products, Yas producers of Yas washing powder, Yas dishwash, Yas bleach, and Yas WC cleaners. So if you want a very neat and spick and span bathroom, spick and span toilet, your kitchens to be clean, use the Yas bleach, Yas WC cleaners. And then we also have Capital O2. Capital O2 producers of Living Bitters and FCF being in support of this program. So shall we have the second supporting speaker?
Mr. Speaker, panel of judges, a great timekeeper, co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen. This motion needs simple logic to really understand it and debate it. The motion is not that we from proposition are against the fact that these street vendors are being driven away. The motion is against the metric by which government is driving these guys. The government wants its metric to be effective. Then we are saying that they should provide a better alternative for these guys. Let me explain this to them with this simple analogy. If a father fails to give the child food, and out of hunger the child comes to steal the father's money, if you want to stop the child from stealing, you don't continuously beat the child without telling the father to feed the child. Go and tell the father to feed the child, and that automatically will stop the child from stealing. That is what we from side opposition are saying. I'll give you a little engagement to their argument. First of all, they argue that it is not government's burden to provide better alternatives. We say that it is not supposed to be a burden on government because it's government's mandate to provide these people with better alternatives before trying to move them off the streets. We from proposition agree to the fact that these things are illegal. But hey, if you want to solve an illegal problem, solve it from the root. Don't necessarily try to solve it where it has proved to be futile all over these years. That is what we are saying. Solve the problem from the root and it will be gone. What do we from proposition bring to you? We say that first of all, it is not about whether what they are doing is wrong, it's about the metric that government is using. So what we are saying is that first of all, provide them with a better market space. People have choice architecture, logic reasoning will tell them to move without you even wasting your time and your resources to go and drive them away. Also, we say that there is lack of political will, and that is the reason why. There is research and survey that has shown that way back in 2011, over 250,000 people were the ones on the streets. How much more in this present day than 2017? That is what is scaring the politicians because they are afraid to sack these people and become the bad guy without giving them a better alternative. And at the end of the day, they will be painted black. And since in Africa and in Ghana here we deal with party politics, no party wants to bear the shame. So what we are saying is, if you want to be a unique government, provide these people, do your mandate as a father, as a government, and your children who are the people on the streets will not need to steal or be on the streets anymore. That is what we from proposition are saying. Also, we say that apart from there being lack of political will, there is government needs to fulfill its mandate. That is the first thing government has to do before even they come here and try to sack these people. You as a father are not performing your duties and you want your child to stop stealing. That is the simple analogy I gave to you. These people have already considered that the analogy I gave, the best solution to it, tell the father to feed the child, and upon that, the child will have no excuse.
chair the house. If you give your child fees and he won't go to school, why do you pay his fees in the first place? This is simply about utility and how provision of markets are effective to remove these people from the streets. We are saying that futility comes in when you sack them and you provide markets for them and they end up not using these markets. Futility is when you rather sack them and not place any checks in place to ensure they don't come back. Futility is when you leave them so that innocent pedestrians will be hit by cars and die. Futility is when governments waste money building markets over and over again when we know that people will not end up using it, as is the current status quo. Government comes here and tells us that as of 2012, there were 250,000 people selling on the streets. How do you expect the government to build markets for all these 250,000 people and continue to have everybody stalled? We did not print arguments for you, judges. We do not have people to make noise. But we tell you that when this side is done from Mensah Sarbah Hall, you would have no reason to place them above us. What do we tell you? We tell you that, one, we need no alternatives, that the giving of the market spaces is an act in futility in the first place, the benefits in sacking them, and the importance of such benefits to the state. Now, Margaret Thatcher once said that it's either we stand on principles or we do not stand at all. In the current status quo, there are so many markets that have been constructed. An example is the is a market constructed by the former Mahama administration for hawkers at the Tamale Central Metropolis. However, it lies unused. The main proponent is not the fact that these people don't have somewhere to sell. The main proponent is greed. So if you put them somewhere, they know that they need people who will buy their wares. So they will come to the road, isn't it? Now, if you come and build the market at the road, there will be an extra number of people because you can't house all of them. So what we tell you is that let the law take its course. Everybody can't be satisfied. It is a fact. Let us actually be honest with the fact of the matter as it stands now. We cannot house all these vendors. But what we tell you from this side is that we sack them and then we ensure that these individuals who have been sacked from these places do not come back. That is when it is not an act in futility. So as he came to stand here and say that the government, the metric we were using is wrong, we are telling you that after we sack them, we will ensure that these people do not come back. The main problem is not that they want to just sell in the streets. Because trust me, the economy was booming, so many people won't want to sell in the streets. The problem is, it's economic, okay? The nation is poor, so many people would want to go on the streets and sell to make ends meet. So in the interim, until we manage to make economic gains or increase our GDP and become relatively comfortable, we are telling you that we should ensure the law takes its course. It's either we stand on principles or we don't stand at all. Of this, we are proud to propose.
All right, thank you very much. Governments cannot satisfy everyone. This show is proudly brought to you by Yaz, the caring brand for caring fun. Okay, we would like to hear from our audience what they have in relation to the motion. But before we do that, we'll go for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll hear from our
I love food frosted flakes because it's so crunchy and full of nutrients. All you need is milk. As usual, Mom.
9 minus 3, 2, 2. That's it? Yes?
90.
Which cereal flakes has 9 essential nutrients with no artificial additives or colors? Yes?
Food frosted flakes is rich in vitamin E, B12, iron, high in carbohydrate, fiber, protein, sodium, and it's very affordable.
Clap for him.
Food frosted flakes! Food frosted flakes! All you need is milk.
Pooch comes with 3 variants: Frosty Flakes, Choco Flakes, and Cornflakes. Each bag has 10 mini packs of 50 grams, and each box you buy comes with a free exercise book. Pooch is available in all supermarkets and retail shops. Pooch Frosty Flakes. All you need is milk.
So what is the essence of life if we are not going to get this economic, or if we are being denied
of these economic benefits that we get from life. Now, there is also the politicization of everything in the country, where even if people would have to access markets, they would have to belong to a particular political party, or they would have to be affiliated, or they would have to know somebody who knows somebody and who knows somebody. So this in itself is not going to be possible. That was why we talked to you about the police. And again, now, we talked about how this is going to bring a burden to the government, about how the government would have to provide for better alternatives for people who come to the street all the time. But we tell you that this is the core mandate of what? The government. The existence of a state is for the benefit of what? The citizens or the people who exist in the state. And so therefore, if your population is increasing, and so therefore you say, because your population is increasing, you are going to cut down the building of hospitals. This is not essential. Thank you very much.
The two sides were almost of equal strength. Congratulations for the great job. We have scored independently and have put together the scores. It was another difficult decision to. The first judge awarded to one side 18.5 and to the other 20.5. And then another awarded to one side 28 and 17, with 37.5 and 46.5. The winning side is Queen's Hall. Okay, thank you very much. Both principal speakers did a great job. The first principal speaker was exceptionally intellectual. She was very poised and her body language was excellent. Most importantly, she provided the structure for the presentation. She laid the foundation by establishing the underlying assumptions and conceptualizing the key terms. She provided historical antecedents for the motion and laid the premise why the attempts have not been successful. The second supporting speaker also established the reason for the comeback and emphasized the operative term, that is better alternative. So the key word here was better, and they established that quite well. The second supporting speaker emphasized the operative word, gave the point that it is root cause analysis and provision of alternative. His point clearly established the point that is made by Einstein, that, not mine words, I'm quoting Einstein, that stupidity is doing the same thing over and again and expecting different results. The opposing side did a great job. The principal speaker had very strong points, except that he was a little too fast. If his speech could be paced a little, then we probably could have been able to pick up all the points that he made. But he made very strong points. You're a good speaker, but we generally had the impression that you were a little too aggressive. The second speaker also exhibited similar traits, but gave very strong points in her presentation. The third was great, but we seemed both, when we conferred, to be confused about whether you were actually speaking against the motion or for the motion. On the whole, you are great presenters, and we say congratulations to all of you.
Congratulations to the winning team. Looks like the audience in the house agreed to the moderation. This show has been possible by Yaz range of products, Yaz, the caring brand for caring families. We were also supported by Capital O2, producers of Living Bitters, NFCF, and Access Bank, Access Solo Account.
The solo account is really for students. So if you're a student and you want your money secure, you have to make sure you grant access and where your money will be secure for you. So on this note, we'd like to thank you very, very, very much for being part of the first debate reality show, the Young Intellectual Debate Show. My name is David and I'll be here with
Nanaba Amor.
Thank you very much and bye.